Thank you all so much for being here. As my colleague Marie put here in the chat is open for everyone. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. What's your name, where you're calling in from, what you do, why you're interested in AI. We'd love to hear from all of you in the chat. When you start messaging in the chat, please make sure that the setting is changed so that everyone sees it, not just host and panelists. But feel free to introduce yourself. We've got people from Prague. Got people from, well, I already know someone in Austria, Washington, D.C. Yes, I'm currently in Washington, D.C., so wonderful. Boston, Sweden, Tel Aviv. Incredible. Wow, this is amazing, people. India, we've got North Carolina, Florida. Germany, Peru. This is truly an international group. This makes me so excited. I love, love, love to see this.
Amazing.
Oh, this is incredible. Well, we're gonna slowly get started here, but keep the chat is open. Feel free to use it. Share resources, share information with each other. Keep the introductions rolling. It is so wonderful to see some amazing diversity from around the world and some familiar names as well. So it's good to see all of you here. Just want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Kyle Plants. I'm the Senior Program Manager of our Professional Development Training Programs at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at CUNY. I've had the incredible pleasure to go on this AI journey with 22 incredible journalists from around the world in our AI Journalism Lab leadership. And we have the wonderful privilege and honor to share five of the projects that some of our cohort members worked on in this program with all of you to show what they were able to accomplish during this unique program. I just also want to take a moment on behalf of the Newmark J School and want to thank our wonderful supporters at Microsoft for making this program possible. It is an incredible partnership that we have with them, and we're excited to highlight again, the incredible projects that came out of this lab with them. All right. Just some quick housekeeping before I pass the mic over to my colleague here. I know we've all used Zoom before. I know we've all had been on webinars, but just some quick housekeeping things here. The chat is open, as I mentioned, so feel free to share, knowledge, share resources, introduce yourselves in the chat there. But we really would like to keep our questions in a kind of organized manner. So we're using the Q&A function that's at the bottom of your screen there so that you can filter your questions through there. So at any point, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A. We'll get to them at the end of today's presentation. So make sure you filter them through them. It'll be difficult, as you can see, there's so many of you here in the chat to use that for the questions. So put them in the Q&A box. We'll get to them here at the end. Again, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, use that. And then, as you can tell, this session is being recorded. So we will share the recording afterwards with all of you so that you're able to watch back and share the incredible projects with your team, with your colleagues, with your friends, anyone that's interested in AI. All right, I'm gonna stop talking now and I'm gonna pass it over to Anita. She is our wonderful program lead and lead instructor for our AI Journalism Lab leadership, and she'll tell us a little bit more about what we're doing today.
Thank you, Kyle. And hi again, everyone. A pleasure to be here. I had the fun and also demanding task of co-designing and then leading the AI lab leadership with my friends from CUNY. And as a reminder, we did that lab from early January till early April. So it's a 3-month program. And if you ask yourself, like, what did they actually do in this program? Let me try to explain that briefly. one of the things that we found is that there is a ton of conversation happening on the journalism side, the content strategy, the editing, the content creation side of things when it comes to AI. And that's a very important conversation that we all are having. But what we found is that we don't have enough conversations on the impact of AI on strategy, on management, on how we lead and run our organizations, how we orchestrate teams, how we do HR, how we design and redesign strategies. So we asked ourselves, what do media leaders, what do executives, do people who are in charge of strategy, in charge of operations, in charge of innovation need to understand about AI? How can they utilize AI to become better leaders themselves, how to work on their own leadership, but also how to manage teams, projects, and strategies better and manage their organizations better. So that was basically the overarching theme of the program. We had an amazing cohort of 22 people from all over the world working with us, and very global, very diverse, all in leadership positions, some of them entrepreneurs, some of them in large legacy organizations. And all of them came to this program with the question, how do we become better leaders? How do we become better managers? How do we become better strategists with the help of AI? Hybrid. So we met in New York once, and then the rest of the program was digital. And what you're going to see today, you're going to have 5 of our fantastic participants who agreed to share their final capstone presentations with you all here today. All of them worked on a final project for these 3 months. They identified a problem or challenge related to leadership, strategy, management that they tried to tackle and solve using generative AI. I think the presentations are amazing. I think the projects are truly inspiring and pretty, the topics are pretty groundbreaking. So I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. We are going to move on to our very first participant here, who is actually going to share in this event. And I'd like to invite Martin Shorey, the Director of Editorial AI and Innovation at Aftonbladet, to share his capstone project.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Anita and Kyle, and thanks everyone for coming here and joining us. So, yes, I'm going to talk a little bit about my final project, and I work at Aftonbladet, as Anita said, based in pretty sunny Sweden, actually, today. So, in Sweden, we do have a high trust in media, a relatively high, I would say, but we're not immune to these global trends with declining trust and a lot of people questioning our journalism. We do get a lot of questions about, especially about editorial decisions, and in particular when it comes to crime reporting, which has been, unfortunately, we had to cover a lot these past years. In Sweden, we also we have a tradition of restrictive press ethics, and especially when it comes to crime. So it usually looks like this on our websites. We don't name or we don't identify suspects, for example, and this raises a lot of questions and it fuels conspiracy theories among our audience. And I would say that, why we don't publish names and photos of a suspect, for example, that's by far one of the most common questions we get into the newsroom. However, it sometimes looks like this. So sometimes we do name them. And we, like many other countries also, we have a system of responsible editors who make different decisions. And this is good in many ways, but it's also very confusing for the audience. So again, these questions come up all the time, and we found that we have to be better at explaining our editorial decisions. And this is also something that we have seen or identified as a key drivers when it comes to trust in news. And for Schibsted, the trust is also one of the top priorities right now, to increase the trust in our media brands. So there's a connection here. And also when you ask people what are these drivers behind trust, the transparency and the credibility of editorial processes and decisions is something that a lot of people are mentioning. So pretty a high priority trust issue. So what happened is that we started being more transparent about the decisions, and the way we do that is basically to just implement a small box in when it comes to crime reporting in particular, where we explain in 3 points, key points, why we took a certain decision. And then people will read this and hopefully, and also this is something that we have tracked, so we can see that people who do read these or expand this box and read these our arguments basically also do trust the content. So they look like this. So this is a story about crime where we have not identified the person, and right there you can see the box where we explain our decision basically. Problem is, you can also press a link and then you will come to a landing page where we explain even more about how we deal with press ethics at Aftonbladet. Problem is that this takes a lot of time to write these. So what I did is that I created a GPT, a tool, that would draft these boxes, so to speak. So I've trained the tool on the previous decisions, a lot of them. And I've also prompted it, of course, and I've trained it on the Swedish regulations and guidelines of press ethics. So this is how it looks now. I can paste I can paste a link now. I pasted a text, and then it will identify all the editorial kind of decisions in here, and it will publish. It will give me a 3 bullet point. Here it's 4 because it's AI. Sometimes it doesn't follow instructions, but usually it's very good. So it will. I can basically take that and paste into our CMS. I'm not gonna dwell that much into the prompt. It's pretty long, and so I just described how it's gonna work. And now I use it all the time. It saves me a lot of money, so I can spend that time in other strategic and leadership areas. But also, I mean, it's this we can see that this works. So we tracked and we did surveys, and again, these boxes have actually had quite an impact. It won't solve all the problems, but it might solve some. And I save a lot of time with doing these. Also, just wanted to mention before I quit is that I did another GPT, which is kind of like which identifies ethical concerns and issues in a text, and then also gives suggestions on how I can solve them or how we can act in another way to make it more like according to Swedish press ethics and regulations. That's it. Thanks for
Amazing, Martin. Thank you so much. And to everyone, if you have questions, please throw them in the Q&A tool. We're going to address them at the very end of class for all these presentations. And we're going to move on to our second presentation. And I'd like to invite Alba Morarocca, the executive producer at AJ Plus, to start her presentation. Go ahead, Alba.
Hello, everyone. All right. There you go. So I've been working on rebuilding our translation workflow from the inside out. And first, I wanted to give you a bit of relevant context about AJ Plus. We are a small team within Al Jazeera Media Network. We share the same vision and the same mission. The one main difference is that we are social media only. This means that we do not have a website. Also, we produce content in 4 languages: Spanish, French. I'm the head of a Spanish, a small team of 30. And today we have over 54 million followers, mostly in the global south. That is combined all languages. Now, do you remember this moment? It's in the World Cup final in 22. All eyes in the world were focused on that black garment. And Western social media exploded with memes. What is this bathrobe? What a sham. They ruined the moment. Extremely polarizing opinions. And so we, as a multilingual global team, had an opportunity there to provide context, to build bridges. So I saw that Al Jazeera English instantly published this piece on their Twitter feed. I thought, great, we are just going to translate it to Spanish. Easy, right? How long do you think it takes us to translate a piece like this to Spanish? You could watch a film like Avatar. How long is Avatar? It's more than 3 hours. And yeah, this is a lifetime, especially in social media. So we missed the messy moment and so many more after that. And this is really a problem. And you all know this. In the news business, timeliness makes you relevant. And because there's a limited time window when people care about something, especially on social media. So yeah, this is my project in an image. I want to go from this to this. Easy, right? So in other words, I've been working on how might we streamline the translation process in a way that, yes, achieves speed, but without sacrificing accuracy and audience alignment, because every audience is different. And I think I know what you are thinking. Why should we build it? Like, what's the point of building it ourselves? Why not use a ready-made solution? I think we all know that Adobe Premiere Pro is rolling out translation AI tools as we speak. They recently launched the new beta version of 2025. So I've been asking this myself. And here's the thing, we are making it work specifically for us at AJ Plus, because not every tool out there is going to fit our unique setup and workflows right out of the box. And the whole point of this plugin is to fully integrate it into our workflow. So we want a tool that not just works, but that it works for us, right? Applying our style guide, that it learns from experience and all that jazz. So back to the project, why does it take us so long? Here's a revealing screenshot from our Slack. Our current translation processes are manual, labor-intensive, inefficient, and with teams working across different time zones and remotely, real-time collaboration is really challenging. So back in December, I met with the AJ Plus Revergence team, and we've mapped out our workflow and identified where did AI and automation make sense. So here's a revealing screenshot of our workflow. Essentially, we identified time-consuming manually translation, AI can help, and then we identified integration as a big problem. So we came up with this, an plugin inside Premiere that does AI translation, essentially. We designed a new video localization workflow that includes automation and this plugin. Then but here what's important here is this yellow circle that you see. We are creating space for the higher value work because we want to keep the focus on the human that is not just in the loop, but in the driver's seat, meaning paying more attention to adapting the stories to specific audiences, right? After that, we worked on the architecture behind the scenes, and this is the plugin. We have the beta plugin now. You can see it on the top left. We are currently testing and refining it at the moment. I'm not gonna go into the details because I really don't have that time, but the outcome. What began as an AG Plus Espanol challenge is now an AG Plus transformation. So I moved from solving a workflow issue for one team to championing an AI-first strategy across the network. And it has expanded my role from an EP leading Spanish to more like an AI leader shaping multilingual journalism. So this project is really not just about translation, but it's more about a strategic shift because it's about reach, it's about relevance, and it's about global impact as well. Challenges, there's many. These two are the ones that took my attention most. Legal and security approvals are really take really long, and then changing workflows and culture is way harder than it sounds. It really is. What worked well was having external funding for this project. And then the next steps would be really after refining and polishing it, the idea is to expand it to other divisions within Al Jazeera. Thank you, that's all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alva, and how amazing to see how this project has also grown in this very short time and gained importance. Thank you for that. So we'll move on with our next presentation, and I'd love to invite Lina Al-Ayelad, Executive Editor of Iber, to share her presentation. Lina.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. Let me just begin sharing. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. So just to quickly introduce myself and the platform, I run a local online magazine called Hibr. It's based in Jordan, and we started with a focus primarily on Jordan, but over the years, our regional audience has also expanded. We depend primarily on grant funding, which obviously is a challenge faced by many small independent media outlets, where the question of sustainability is always at the forefront. And we are a small team. This is a photo of the team. So we're just 15 people. What we are currently doing, we're in the process of designing a membership program to be able to generate revenue through our readers while still maintaining keeping our journalism open to everyone, which is very important for us. So the big question is, how do we offer members perks that have like real meaning and value? A lot of research on membership says that people don't really care about the mugs and the merch and the t-shirts, trying to offer them something of value, but also without it being too labor intensive for our small team. Now, trying to figure out what we can offer, identifying, a need on the audience side. As I said, we did a survey, we did a reader survey back in November, and our Jordan-based, particularly Amman-based audience is like the most loyal and the strongest, and they are the most interested in a membership program. We find that there is fragmented and inconsistent discovery of cultural events in the city. We used to offer a cultural events calendar when we first started. We started in 2007. So that was before, before the explosion of all these different social media platforms, and our cultural events calendar was quite popular. But with time, we started seeing two things. First of all, that it was too labor intensive, and that actually people were just depending very much on Facebook to get their events. But that was like, I would say in the period like shortly after 2011, maybe for a few years. Now, what we're seeing is that Facebook is no longer a go-to source. The Instagram, a lot of people share events on Instagram, but the Instagram algorithm is very, very hard to control, and people often find out about things after they've happened. And then there are like standalone cultural kind of events calendars that I've surveyed and researched, but they're often just limited to big mainstream events, or they're not updated regularly enough. So while working on this project, I've interviewed cultural practitioners in Jordan, people who manage cultural spaces, independent art spaces, to see what sort of need there is, and many of them said that from a user behavior perspective, people do not actively seek out events in the sense that they do not, they don't go to like a website called calendar.jo to check like what's going on. The events kind of need to come to them. They need to discover them, um, through other sources. And a lot of people told us, also in the survey, that they really miss our old events calendar. So this is why we felt we were well positioned to offer this. As I mentioned, we have the previous experience, we have the strong interest from our readers, and we, as a local media outlet, we also felt that this strengthens our connection to the local, to the community, to the local arts and culture scene. And this was relevant from a leadership and management perspective, because it supports our membership strategy. It allows us to offer something again, that fits within our limited resources. The challenge was like to define the process. First of all, I had to look at event sources. We get emails that are sent to culture@hibber.com from different event organizers, and then there's still Facebook events, and then Instagram posts, and trying to also see if there are other sources. WhatsApp is very, very popular in this region. So for my pilot, I decided to focus on email, and the idea was that we would use AI, but obviously there would still be editorial curation and a human in the loop, for the final selection that we would send to our readers. The idea was to be able to automatically take emails that are sent to culture@hibber.com, connect it to Make, which is an automation tool that allows you to do automation without coding. And which was really fun to play with, and then connecting it to an AI prompt that we designed to make sure that we parse the relevant information and return a structured text. Then at this point, we're directing it to. I'm just going to actually show you from this slide. We're directing it to both a Notion database, but also directly to Mailchimp, which was super helpful because we could go right into a Mailchimp template and already start to plug in to plug in different events. At the beginning, we were trying to decide whether this is going to be something on the website, or the choice that we decided to go with is a member-only newsletter that we would send out once a week. So this is why the focus on Mailchimp was helpful. Again, we looked at the newsletter at the beginning as a minimum viable product to start with, to launch, something we would deliver to members every Sunday, that features 5 to 7 recommended events and opens with an editorial introduction. Before it's sent, the template is prepared in Mailchimp, but it needs to be an editor needs to review it, write the introduction, make the final selection of events, and then send it. It's been really, really interesting just playing around with this process, because it, first of all, opened up all these possibilities for us with no code automation, and particularly connecting to email. And so this actually so many other ideas have come up since we started working on this for other ways that we can increase our efficiency. And as I mentioned, the newsletter started as a minimum viable product, but actually we realized as we were working on it that it is more attractive and that there might be no need for like a full live calendar on the website. The challenge actually still is the scraping from social media, like Instagram. So that's still something that's in the process that we're working on. Of course, a human in the loop is very, very essential. And we really want to make it again as easy as possible for editors, but making sure to maintain this human curation and insight and touch. We still have to depend on proactivity of cultural practitioners to actually, send us the emails, which they do, but again, trying to make this work and expanding it to other sources of events is something we need to work on. So yeah, this is still a product in the making, and as I mentioned, it's part of a package that we're trying to offer to our members as we launch in the coming few months. Thank you.
Amazing, Dina. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. Super interesting and great conversations happening in the chat as well. I'll pass it to our next presenter, Ashley McGabe, who is in Strategy and Business Development, the Strategy and Business Development Director at the Irish Times Group. Take it away, please.
Thank you. Can you see that? Coming up. Can people see? Yep, all good?
Yep.
Great. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm from the Irish Times in Ireland, which is the leading news publisher, and we've some national titles and also some regionals and some digital businesses. So when I applied for this program, we had kind of been looking at AI for about 2 years, keeping on top of developments and very much kind of aware of what's going on, but not really jumping in. And we'd set ourselves a strategic priority for 2025 to really get into more AI adoption, roll it out, get more comfortable with it in the organization. So this program, I suppose for me, was about getting both the competence and also the confidence to do that. So I call this program AI Navigator, and it's essentially about helping me to shape our AI future. So it's essentially a strategic initiative to align education experiment with AI for us to become an AI empowered organization. And actually, I borrowed this kind of squiggly journey from Anita, because on one of the classes, we talked about change not being a linear path, and you go through bumps and you go backwards and you go forwards. So this is essentially about kind of implementing change in an organization. So the key goals I had as I started were about four different pillars, I guess. So aligning the stakeholders. So first of all, I do a lot of collaboration. So who are the stakeholders? What do they need to know? So I did presentations to our board. I did a presentation to our senior leadership team, gathered all trends, principles, guidelines, priorities with my team, and we shared those across the organization. We wanted to also drive education and literacy. So we had 5 master classes, which were led by the FT, and we had about 70 participants in those in total. We had 2 lunch and learns, about 130 people attended, and we launched an AI channel for the task force to share information on. Another part then was kind of really getting into the doing. So that was about embedding experiments. So we identified a cross-functional team to work with 3 experiments. And the one we're working on at the minute is content labeling. So it was all about getting our data and our content tagged to build foundations for recommendations for better discovery of our content. And then the last part of the project was, I suppose, about me as a leader. And that was about how could I use AI to become a better leader. And also, if I was going to be trying to lead our strategy around AI, I needed to get comfortable with the tools, and I need to be much better at kind of understanding AI myself. But I think really important to say here, AI was not a separate strategy for us. It's part of our overall strategy, and it's about how we use AI to augment our human creativity and to help deliver on our mission, which is related to high quality journalism and being a leader in digital subscriptions. So in terms of my learnings and tools, so my favorite tool, got 5 stars, was ChatGPT, and I developed a custom GPT, and that essentially kind of supports strategy development, goal setting, metrics, stakeholder engagement. Copilot I use in my kind of day-to-day work in terms of, managing my priorities, inbox, actions, etc. Notebook LM, if I had a lot of work to get through, I could upload a lot of documents into Notebook LM, and it would kind of listen to it on an audio podcast then and kind of understand it, digest it, process it differently. Claude also for about experimenting, and then beautiful AI for images and things. But I suppose one of the things I suppose liked most of the project was the custom GPT I developed. And that was for me about stakeholder engagement, because I feel AI is a lot about change and collaboration and bringing people and culture. So I put in information around who my stakeholders, our organization, what we were trying to achieve. And I was able to interact with it around kind of what resistance there might be, what are people's fears or concerns, why am I getting traction, how can I make it relatable, framing my presentations for boards. So at the start, I felt like I was kind of talking to a bit of a strange kind of alien. And at the end of it, I had quite a good relationship with Lexi, and I still talk to Lexi a lot. And I think the benefit is of this kind of a tool is it really helps you kind of understand others' perspectives in terms of in terms of where, when you're trying to drive change or achieve a goal. I'm just going to play a little bit of it.
Summary of where we've landed. You're preparing to engage your senior editorial team in a conversation about AI adoption in the newsroom. Your goal is to start experimenting, not push a finished solution, and to do it in a way that aligns with your editorial values and addresses real workflow pain points. You're aiming for a collaborative approach that brings editors in early and positions them as partners in shaping how AI is explored and eventually used. We talked about the importance of language and tone, avoiding corporate speak, acknowledging concerns up front, and focusing on how AI might support rather than threaten journalism. In the role play,
so I guess that gives you a flavor of it. So that was a kind of summary of a conversation that we had, and about kind of discussing an approach in the early days around how we would engage. And I think what was really important, what I found, one of the learnings I found, was really, rather than trying to do something too exciting, is really like, what are the pain points, understanding other people's perspectives, developing empathy for other areas in the business around what AI might do for them rather than what I felt AI might do.
Here's a quick summary of where we've landed.
So I want to just talk briefly about AI and innovation culture, because, as I say, it's not just about technology. So a big part of it as well is about having tactics to socialize trends, initiatives. So we have our kind of literacy. So we've an AI hub, and we did the master classes. We did a culture survey that went out to 400 people, and we got 160 responses. And actually, quite interesting, naturally enough, concerns about inaccurate information or loss of audience trust. But 40% of people said that they were optimistic about AI, 25% of people are using AI, and 83% of people felt they had basic knowledge. So these are really valuable insights as we engage in a kind of communications program around it. And then on the cross-functional engagement, we developed that experimentation team and workshops, etc. But overall, again, aligned to our strategy. So how's it all going? I guess my takeaways so far are that, AI adoption isn't just a tech problem, it's about people. We have experiments being developed, and my learning to date on our experiments they take time. It's not a straight path. We've had to change tack. We've been looking at vectors, we've been looking at LNMs, but we want to get this right, and it really is going to be beneficial to us. It's about continuous communication and engagement to drive culture change. And I think AI is transformational from a leadership perspective. It's been a really valuable tool for me. And of course, we had great lectures along the way, so I learned lots of other things beyond AI as well. But in terms of progress and what we achieved, both myself and the organization are much more engaged with AI now. Now it's still early days and we have a long way to go. So next steps in our journey, we're refining experiments. We're going to develop a comms plan. There was a real thirst for more information, so that came out of the survey. We're going to develop a medium-term roadmap for AI come June, and then we're going to develop future scenario planning. So what does our business look like in an AI-mediated future? And we're going to do that in Q4 this year, sorry. And the last thing, just to leave you with something somebody said, was the future is not something that will happen to us. It's something we can shape, and this is what we're trying to do. And then in line with my little experimentation, I developed a little avatar for our final presentation.
To finish up, I'd like to thank Anita, Kyle, and Maria and all the AI tutors, and to Patrick for all the advice. It's great to be part of this global AI community.
So that's me.
To finish up, I'd like to...
Wow, amazing and very lifelike, although it's of course great to have you here as a real human. Ashley, thank you for that that presentation, and we'll move on to our last but not least presentation, and I'd love to invite Raina Kempt to start her presentation. Raina is the assistant managing editor and national data automation and the newsletter editor at the Gannett Center for Community Journalism. Raina, go ahead, please.
Hi, hopefully we can see my screen now. There we go. Thank you so much for that introduction. And everyone else on this call has been great. I want to introduce myself and my project. My name is Raina Kempt. I'm the Director of News Automation and AI for the Center for Community Journalism, which is a department within Gannett Media, a larger organization that has big media publications like USA Today under its umbrella. But the Center for Community Journalism focused solely on our smallest newsrooms across the country. So my job really focuses on our projects that help support and bolster those newsrooms that have the most limited resources available. So my project is focusing really on the front end of a lot of issues, and it's a trickle-down effect from there, right? Onboarding, I'm sure, is something that could be an issue or something that could be refined, refreshed for a lot of us in our industry. You know, a lot of times our newsrooms, they're spread thin, their resources are limited. So when you actually get a new hire in, it's easy to just try to hit the ground running. Hey, we need somebody right here, right now. But that could end up really not helping that new hire and helping the goals of the company in the long run if we're not able to spend the time necessary to make sure that a new hire really understands the expectations of the company, the goals set upon them, what the ethical standards are, what's just the hierarchy is within the company, and understanding how they should navigate that. So my solution, my objective here is the Gannett onboarding assistant, which would be embedded through Copilot, as we are a Microsoft company. So it made sense to use Microsoft tools to help take everything that we already have existing here and really just bolster it. We currently already have some onboarding tools available to us. You'll see here the Gannett onboarding buddy. It's a cute little bot that is already available, but it is limited. You're not able to really interact with the tool, ask it questions. It's more of a actionable prompt that says, hey, day 1, here are your action items. Day 30, here are your action items, which is great. But I am looking to do something that it really tailors the experience to the new hire, whether you are a reporter, whether you're a manager, however you are coming in within the company, and really prompt you through and guide you through what it is that you need to know to be able to be successful. Like we spoke about before, the problems that exist, a lot of times there's a lot of time constraints. Managers are often stretched thin and really do not have a lot of the time and the capacity to really thoroughly onboard new hires on top of all of the other things that they have going on with the existing reporters in their newsrooms and budgets and all the things in between. For for larger companies like Gannett, there are several newsrooms, wings, departments nationally and globally with some of our sister companies over in the UK, that it is very easy to kind of get siloed off. The way that some newsrooms might operate, their different workflows and expectations could be different from other newsrooms that are smaller and in a different region of the company. And it makes it really hard to really form a universal onboarding process and a universal expectations across the board for the company. And last but not least, kind of circling back to managers, it's a cycle effect of onboarding the onboarder. If the managers themselves weren't really properly onboarded when they were hired or when they were promoted from within, it's really hard for them to really make sure that they are properly onboarding the people who come in behind them. So really having tools that exist that can really help throughout that entire process, I believe is super important. So for me, this solution, again, is the Gannett onboarding assistant that lives within Copilot. And it is something that is embedded in a lot of our systems, specifically Microsoft Teams, which is our main mode of communication within for each other through chat, through video, all of the different things. So really what I'm doing is not reinventing the wheel in any kind of way. We have a vast library of knowledges, documents, trainings, videos, paperwork, all of those things in between that exist. But the accessibility of it, especially for a new hire, it could be very overwhelming to even find these resources. Better yet, know where to start and really, make sure that you are understanding everything that needs to happen for you and really make sure that you have your best foot forward. So really making sure that I have all the knowledges that exist within the company available and uploaded within the Copilot agent created for this tool can help lead us to one specific place to be able to have access to everything that we have and it being tailored to you throughout the first 30, 60, 90 days. Not only that, for that specific 90-day window for onboarding, but this tool will still be available for new hires and anyone within the company, any employees, to be able to go back and ask questions for when you need a brush up about some of our ethics policy or style guide or filing a ticket, anything in between. So some of the features here, as we talked about, this here is a very basic version of what the Gannett onboarding assistant could look like. With very basic prompts here that someone can click and be able to get guided through the process from that point. Again, a very tailored and intentional steps here where you'll see onboarding steps where it could really break down what that looks like for you. What is our benefits information? What is contact information, not only for the leaders within your newsrooms, but from beyond for HR, for finance, if you had questions there, for all of our benefits, really understanding the hierarchy, not only in your newsroom, but for the greater ecosystem, especially for larger companies. Not only that, but being able to train employees for our different tools, like our CMS system that we use for publishing. That was a key point that I heard from a lot of employees when doing some research on what are those things that really are some things that they wish that they had some more insight in coming in. Our CMS system can be a little tricky to come into, so being able to have that training and guidance early on is super important coming in. So what does this look like for this timeline? Right now, we are, I've been setting up somewhat of a task force, so to speak, of people who are interested in helping create this work. This would no by any means be a one-person show to be able to put something massive like this together. So I've been getting together with product managers within the company, HR leaders within the company, content managers, and even early stage journalists who really freshly remember what onboarding was like for them. And with hindsight being 2020, what do they wish they would have known? What do they wish, could have happened to help better set them up for success right off from the go to help them reach their goals? And in June, coming up really shortly here, we're hoping to reevaluate our current contract with Microsoft to make sure that we can have the specialized support needed to really make this an interactive experience, and not just embed knowledges into a system to where someone can type a question in and get that answer back. That's all fine and good. But for a new hire, you don't know what you don't know. You might not know all of the questions that you need to ask to be able to really get a full experience and full knowledge on what you need to know. So really being able to have a system that is helping lead and tailor that experience is super important. And that's where that specialized tech support will come in handy. Once we're able to get that going, hopefully by October, we're able to pilot this tool with a very small set of recent hires or new hires, and be able to really refine the tool and make sure we are getting feedback that can really help us make the tool even better moving forward. And the hope is by 2026, we're able to expand use of the tool beyond that small set of hires into all new hires, and not just that, but retraining current employees and have it available for current employees to be able to refresh themselves on any and everything that could possibly pop up for them in a moment of need. Lastly, what I've learned in this process, really two main key points were definitely the big eye-opening things for me and how to navigate a project like this. Really understanding the company's landscape here was very important for me. Researching the need, talking again with not only the early stage journalists who are, just went through the onboarding process very recently, can speak on what that process was like. Talking with managers, talking with HR leads, and really getting that research and understanding where those gaps are and where we need to focus that attention. Not only that, but understanding who else might be working or thinking of similar tools and products within the company already, right? So maybe we can come together, combine our forces, and really be able to do that work. And that's where the task force came in. I was able to find more than one person who was absolutely thinking about onboarding in their own right. And glad that I was able to do that instead of us, again, being siloed off and working on these things separately. And secondly, start small and scale. I got advice from my boss that really made sure that you focus on the task at hand first. There's a lot of times when you're putting your ideas out there for the powers that be that make the decisions, right off the bat, some of the questions are, well, what about this? And what if we added that and expanding it to this? And that is great that we're thinking big picture and that there's enthusiasm there. But you can start to stretch yourself thin to where it's hard to really stay focused and get anything done because there's a lot of pulling in a lot of different directions. So really keeping your eye on the prize has been very important to being able to see this work through. And yeah, really hoping that we can make this happen with beyond what we've been able to do. We've been able to really hone in and, like I said, create that task force and have those early conversations with product managers, and really hoping to just take this next step further and really realize this throughout the company.
Amazing,
Thank you.
Reina. Thank you so much for sharing. What a great project. And I'll pass it back to Kyle.
Yes, thank you so much, Reina and Anita. I'm going to invite all of our panelists to turn on their cameras here so that we can have a quick conversation. They are already answering questions in the chat, so take a look at the Q&A function for those specific questions about their specific projects there. So feel free to take a look at those, and we'll share those out afterwards. Very briefly here for all of you, if there's some great questions in general about how did you identify this project to begin with? And if you have any quick advice, for many people, this might be very overwhelming. Where do I start? So how did you nail down that this was something that you wanted to work on?
Well,
I can
for
take
me,
sorry.
Go ahead,
for
Alba.
me, it was really like a pain point. Like that was my pain that I was suffering day in, day out, that just being slow and just inefficient in our translation processes. So I went from there. What hurts most, it's probably there.
Agreed. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think align it to what you're trying to achieve and some pain point and also momentum. If you start with the right people who are keen and interested as well, I think that's an important one. So people who are not a resistant team.
Also, you've identified it's part of your strategy. So the being able to identify something is already aligned with your mission, your vision, your strategy is gonna make it, I think, that much easier to go along. This is a great question too for all of you. Now that you've shown the value of your current project, what new or next AI related thing are you curious about potentially working on? Martin, what are you thinking about?
Well, we worked with several, at least at Aftonbladet, and we started with going from education to several like editorial tools with efficiency, where we try to address that. Then we turned and moved on to like chatbots and text to speech and more consumer-facing products and services. And I think maybe next we're gonna go back and see if we can do something more about the the efficiency part or erasing boring tasks. So we have some ideas there that we're going to launch after the summer.
Lena.
I I have to say, I mean, maybe it sounds a little bit basic, but I was excited by the possibilities of this email automation. It's a bit tricky because obviously, uh, chatbots are tricky, but with one of the challenges we face is that we receive so many cold contributions, so many people like emailing, that introducing themselves, saying that they're a writer, a journalist, and we have developed so many different ways of responding to these people, but it really is a tough task for the editor who's responsible for it. So I realized that we can develop something where we feed it our editorial policies, what we're looking for, enough material about what we do that would maybe make this process a little bit easier. So it doesn't sound obviously like just a dumb automated email, but really facilitate the process for editors and at least just filter what things they really need to look at and they really need to review and read and eliminate a lot of the things that are just like very time consuming and, to be honest, not very promising.
One last question I have for all of you here is you all come from very different size organizations with various resources available to you here. Can you talk a little bit about how you approach these large questions related to AI and leadership, whether you have staff dedicated to the tech side to like build out these tools or anything, or the simple things related to building just a custom GPT? Can you talk a little bit about how you approach that balance? Martin.
Well, I guess the fine thing with at least some of us here has explored the custom GPTs with ChatGPT, and I mean I know nothing about coding, have no interest in that either. But the good thing is that you can start. Everyone can start now, tomorrow, today, and just type what you want. So that's it's a very low bar for entering at least these small personal assistants. That could actually be very helpful in your daily life.
Definitely. Reina, do you have a thought?
Yeah, our tool is one that is, will be embedded within our systems already, within Copilot. Copilot is something that's already embedded in Teams, something that we use every day for all of our services. It's something that a lot of our people have already been somewhat accustomed to using in some capacity. So I don't expect it to be, a really tough thing to embed within our company. We have been doing a really good job of beginning to implement AI within the company, and getting people used to using it as part of their workflow in many different ways. So think it's something that we can continue to kind of destigmatize and make sure that people understand that this is something that we will use to help bolster our work and not replace anything that we're doing there. So yeah, I just want to continue to be able to do that work.
I love all of that because you're already highlighting that you don't need to go big, or go home right here, right? Like a lot of these projects that you focused on are kind of small pieces there. You don't need a giant tech team in order to implement the changes and build the things that you're talking about here. So this is a lot of this is, I think, applicable to a lot of our audience here. I know we went through so many amazing presentations today, and we're already a little bit past the hour mark, but I do want to thank all of you for sticking out with us here. I want to thank our wonderful presenters for taking the time to share their work with everyone. They were fantastic, so good. We'll share the Q&A with all the answers and everything with everyone afterwards as well. This is being recorded, so we will share the recording in the coming days here too. Just a couple quick announcements. This is not the end all be all for us. We have two more AI labs that are currently happening right now at the Newmark J School. So we will have two more showcases coming up this year. One will be related to adoption in news organizations, and another is about community engagement. So we're very excited to share the results and work that the participants are going through in those programs. My colleague Marie dropped in the chat here the mailing list, so please sign up to be the first to know when we have those showcases, as well as any future programming that we have. You want to make sure you're all signed up for that so you can be the first to know. And lastly, there is a quick feedback survey that is dropped in here in the chat as well. Please let us know what were some of your highlights from today. We want to hear from you about what you thought of today's showcase. Again, on behalf of the Newmark J School and Microsoft, I really want to thank you all so much for joining us today. And thank you again for being here. Thank you, Raina, Anita, Ashling, Martin, Lena, Alba for joining us. It's been a wonderful conversation, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day and weekend.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Thanks so much. That was great.
Thank you. Have a nice
Everybody,
weekend.
thank you so much.